We got a big-time guest for you on today's episode of Locked On Sooners. 2023 four-star quarterback commit Jackson Arnold is going to join the show, sharing with us his recruitment story. We're going to talk Champ U Barbecue, the newest Oklahoma Sooners addition in the 2023 recruiting class, and more, and so much more on today's episode of Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Sooners Nation, and thank you for joining us. My name is John Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Sooners and on Facebook, Locked On Sooners Podcast. And joining me as he does every day is Josh Helmer. You can follow Josh on Twitter at JoshOnRef. You can also hear him from Monday through Friday from 9 to noon on 94.7 The Ref in Norman. And joining us now here on Locked On Sooners is Jackson Arnold, the 2023 four-star quarterback commit. Jackson, how's your summer going, man? Thanks for joining us.
Sure. It's been great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to you, man. It's been a really interesting last 6-7 months for the Oklahoma Sooners, their recruiting class, the coaching staff, and so you're one of the newer commits. I mean, after all of the coaching turnover and the recruiting class turnover, you're actually the first guy to commit to Brent Venables and his coaching staff. So kind of walk us through what that was like for you, just seeing Oklahoma get their new coaching staff. Who was the first person that kind of reached out to you to make that offer from Oklahoma?
The first person to not offer me but reach out was Coach Gundy, because it was after Lincoln Riley left, and he took all of the coaches and the player, or not the player. He didn't take the players, but the commits in my class, like Malachi. And I kind of saw the opportunity open up, and I always knew OU was a place that, I potentially could see myself. So I hit up my recruiting coach for Guyer, and he got me in touch with Coach Gundy. I was talking to him a little bit, and then Coach Venables gets hired, and then Coach Levy gets hired, who I was in contact with for almost over a year now at Ole Miss, and I was super close with him there. And I came up for the visit. I think it was January 15 is when all the early enrollees moved in, and I talked to Coach Venables and walked around the campus and just saw like the family-like environment that Venables was creating, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it.
Well, for Oklahoma fans, that was such a time of uncertainty because the program lost a head football coach, and yet the offensive staff that stuck around. I mean, you mentioned Cale Gundy right there. He was obviously pivotal to keeping Oklahoma afloat, at least in Sooner fans' minds, for those couple of weeks. From your perspective, it sounds like really on the outside looking in, totally different for you. You see an opportunity open up at a place that has a great football history to play quarterback at. What was just all of that like for you when you saw Oklahoma going through transition, but really for you, it's about a great opportunity at the University of Oklahoma?
Yeah, as soon as I saw that Lincoln Riley was leaving, first of all, I didn't believe it. I thought it was some make-believe story, something crazy, and I just, I have a bunch of friends who are Sooner fans, not growing up here, but living here for the past 7 years. I obviously have seen some Oklahoma games. I know the huge rivalries they have, and just how passionate the fans are, and how awesome the games always are. So, I always kind of rooted for them in some way. And as soon as, the opportunity opened up, I could see myself in the Crimson and Cream. I really could, and I was just super excited when the opportunity opened up.
And so Cale Gundy is the guy that kind of reaches out to you. What was the conversations like with Jeff Levy? I mean, because that's the guy that you're going to be most in connection with, most in contact with. How did he kind of lay out his offensive game plan and how he saw you fitting in his system?
Well, the crazy thing about that is our offense at the high school level they're running right now is super similar. It's almost the same scheme. Some things obviously are different, but it's the same concept. It's the old Baylor offense when Coach Levy was there, the Art Browse ran. So I'm super familiar with that offense, and he really didn't have to, lay it out for me. I just kind of understood the whole offense and the whole concept, and I just thought I would fit really well in the offense.
You had that long-standing relationship with Jeff Levy, as you mentioned. Obviously, he becomes the offensive coordinator at OU. How exciting just was that part of it for you that, okay, wow, now I've been in contact with Cale Gundy. Now Jeff Levy's the offensive coordinator at OU. Did it, from that perspective, it just seemed like the perfect fit?
It really did. It was kind of like, honestly, it was kind of like a fever dream. I couldn't really believe it because it kind of just seemed too perfect of a situation. 2.5 hours away, and one of my favorite coaches that I've talked to along my whole recruiting process is going to the school. Someone who I respect and admire greatly. It seemed too good to be true.
So you've now been a Sooners commit for about 5 months or so, or 4 months. I can't remember your exact commitment date, but now you've kind of gotten to get to know the staff, get to know some of the other players on the team. Who's kind of been the current Sooner that you've kind of been most in contact with, you maybe developed the biggest relationship with to this point?
After this weekend, I'd definitely say Dylan Gabriel. He was my host this weekend. We had a great time just hanging out, talking, even talking the offense a little bit. It was just awesome linking with him this weekend.
Well, tell us a little bit. Sooner fans are getting to know Dylan Gabriel piece by piece, but from your perspective, what kind of a quarterback is Dylan Gabriel? And I guess more importantly than that, what kind of a host was Dylan Gabriel?
He was an awesome host, just taking me around, super nice and super genuine. He wasn't stuck up because he's going to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. He was extremely humble, extremely genuine, and he's an absolute baller too. You look at his tape at UCF, and I think Sooner fans don't realize yet how special this kid is and how special he would be for us this season.
So as a guy who's committed to the program, when you're going through these recruiting weekends, because I know you and Joshua Bates, you guys kind of keep coming back to Norman often. What's it like for you? Because a lot of the guys that are coming to Norman haven't committed yet. They're on official visits. They're kind of checking the program out for the first time. So how is it different, being a commit attending Champ U Barbecue versus being somebody who's seeing it for the first time?
I think I have a lot more freedom.
Okay.
I don't have to sit through some of the meetings and the presentations that they always show. And I just I can go out and explore campus, just go walk around, have some fun. And I think it's better for us to come back and just recruit and, kind of walk through the process with these other recruits that are coming in, trying to convince them that this is the place to be.
So we hear so much talking with Oklahoma Sooners quarterback commit Jackson Arnold in the house with us. We hear so much about this family environment that Brent Venables is creating. And I think as media, as fans, we get an idea of what that's like, but maybe not the full picture. Just what is Oklahoma's new head football coach in Brent Venables? What is sort of the vision that he's selling you and the rest of this class on what Oklahoma's going to be like this season and moving forward?
He's an absolutely great person. I love Coach V, and he's extremely genuine, and that family-like environment everyone's talking about, it's not just Coach V. He does come from Clemson, which obviously has that environment. I've talked to coaches there at Clemson, and it's kind of the same situation. I know where we obviously from, but I think it's just all the coaches, especially the Champ U Barbecue, all the coaches with their families and their kids, and all the kids are going around playing with each other, playing with the current players and the recruits even. And it's just insane. It really makes you feel at home. It was an awesome experience.
And coming up next, we're going to talk more about Jackson's high school career, what he's been through so far, where he's headed. And then in the third segment, we're going to get to know Jackson a little bit more on a personal level here on Locked On Sooners. But we're going to talk to you first about BetOnline.
Our partners at BetOnline, well, they continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs, sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, sports developments, including this year's NBA Finals. BetOnline, your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So head on over to the website today, betonline.net. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So Jackson Arnold hanging out with us, Sooner quarterback commit in the 2023 class. We think it's about to be an incredible Oklahoma class once it's all said and done, especially coming on the heels of that Champ U Barbecue. Jackson, I can turn on the huddle tape. I can see the throws that you've made. But for folks that maybe haven't flipped on the huddle tape yet, or just want to know a little bit more about what your game looks like, what type of quarterback are you? What do you do well in your mind?
Obviously, a pass first quarterback, I think that's super important, but I'm also able to take down defense with my legs too. Read game, stuff like that, scrambles, and all. I think that's a great part of my game that helps us win. Helps us get down the field, drive down the field, and I think accuracy is a big part of my game too.
And it seems like that's a very important part of Jeff Lebby's offense as well. Dylan Gabriel, an effective dual threat quarterback. They brought in Nick Evers, for the 2022 class, and again, another dual threat quarterback. So the fact that you're able to do that as well, and then run the read option game, the RPO game, I think that's going to be a huge benefit to the Oklahoma Sooners. One thing we forgot to ask you about when we were talking recruiting, and I want to make sure we touch on this before we get too further down the road, is Keon Brown. Just talk to us about that. I mean, this is a guy that was kind of flying under the radar, came to camp last week, and now all of a sudden, just a few days later, he's committed to the Oklahoma Sooners, a big wide receiver commit, 4-star out of Florida. So tell us your impression of Keon Brown now that he's a part of the 2023 class.
Me and Coach Levy actually watched his tape the other day during the visit. Super impressed. And especially, and Levy told me that the tape didn't even show his full potential. At camp, he said he was torching everybody, and he was extremely impressive. Probably the best receiver they've seen all camp, pretty much. And they offered him. He committed on the spot. I think that's a super important piece for us just because of Ashton decommitting a couple weeks ago. I think it was a super important spot to fill, and I think he's the perfect guy for it.
And so then getting back to you real quick. Sorry, Josh. So last year, your first year starting down there at Denton Guyer, you helped them get all the way to the state championship game. So now you're going into the season, you're the starter, you've had a year under your belt. What's the difference in preparation like for you this year as opposed to last year when you're kind of getting your foot wet as a varsity starter? Now you've got a year of experience. What's your mentality heading into the 2022 season for you?
Honestly, nothing's really going to change that much. I love the way I prepared last year. And of course, there's obviously things I can improve on, more time watching film, focusing on certain aspects of the game that I can improve on. And obviously, my schoolwork will be a lot easier next year, so I have a lot more time to watch film, which will help me prepare better. But I think overall, it's just the whole film aspect and, understanding defenses and understanding the coverages that I'm going to get in game, because that will help me get the ball out faster during the game.
One more on the commitment of Keon Brown. You mentioned that you liked what you saw on the film as well. I mean, obviously the coaching staff, I'm sure, gets the majority of the input on offers that get doled out. But do you get any input on maybe an offer to a wide receiver that gets put out by Oklahoma at this stage? And then just how happy does it make you? You got to be thrilled, right? Adding a skill piece to the 2023 class.
Oh, yeah, it's super exciting knowing that, I'm going to have a big, tall, fast receiver to throw to. That's obviously awesome. But I honestly haven't added any input to offers so far. I love who they've offered, and I'm pretty close with the receivers that we have offered. I'm trying to build relationships with them and get them on board.
And so what's your relationship with a guy like Joshua Bates, who was kind of the only holdover from the previous coaching staff? We're actually going to get to talk to him tomorrow, so we'll ask him the same questions that we're asking you. But so what's been your relationship with him like?
It's awesome. He's a great friend. It was awesome having somebody to kind of connect to after I committed, just because it was me and him. And was there another one whenever I committed?
I can't remember if DeAndre Moore had decommitted before or after you committed, so I'm not sure what the timeline is. It's going to be a little bit fuzzy on that front for me.
Well, either way, it was somebody that I talked to and got to meet on visits and got pretty close with, and it's awesome because we were the first two, the first two commits really that stayed with Coach Venables, and just kind of being able to talk to him about the whole just Oklahoma as a whole and the whole coaching staff. It was pretty awesome.
How important is that to you, Jackson? You're a quarterback, so you're in a position naturally of leadership. And I just, from my perspective, watching some of these recruiting classes for Oklahoma in years past develop, a lot of times a quarterback, that commitment can be part of what sparks a class to become what what it ultimately becomes. It's a lot of times quarterbacks get pretty heavily involved, communicating with various commits, talking to guys, telling them, hey, maybe Oklahoma's a place that you want to check out. Do you feel any responsibility in that regard to try and build relationships with guys that either commit or that you'd like to see committed at Oklahoma in the future?
Oh, 1,000%, because these are the people I'm going to be playing with. These are the people that, I want people to, maybe not look up to me, but see me as a leader. And I think that starts with the whole recruiting part of it. If I'm convincing you to come check out Oklahoma, or maybe even commit to Oklahoma, and you follow my lead, and commit to Oklahoma, I think that'll just help, on the football field and with relationships in general.
And kind of in that quarterback conversation, you've had the benefit of watching quarterbacks your whole life. Who are some of the players that you kind of gravitate to, whether it's the NFL level, college? Who are some of the players that you love watching play the quarterback position?
My favorite quarterback of all time has got to be Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. That makes me really sad as a Dallas Cowboys fan to hear that, but okay. It's going to be okay, Jackson. We'll still be friends after this show, I promise.
Sorry.
I think it's a great choice. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs guy, but I got a ton of love and respect for Aaron Rodgers. Nothing wrong with that choice.
No, there's respect. He's just broken my heart so many times that I can't have any great feelings for him.
He's a great passer.
He's a great player. He also uses his legs to his benefit quite well too. He's future first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a fun one to watch. What is it about his game that you really enjoy watching?
I love the way he throws the ball and the way he changes arm slots and everything. It's kind of something I strive to do and something I actually want to work towards this upcoming season. Is he's very good mechanically with just letting his body, I guess, flow. He's very good with just changing arm slots and getting the ball out quick and accurately.
We probably see that more than ever before from quarterbacks. I just think about somebody like either a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers would fit that description as well. It seems like there's more and more guys. Hey, somebody that Oklahoma fans are super familiar with, Baker Mayfield, I think you can toss into that category a little bit. Being able to throw off different platforms on the move. How much do you work on that part of your game as a quarterback, and how much of an emphasis is it for you to be able to throw off different platforms?
I think it's a huge part of the game. I think it's kind of not underlooked per se, but maybe not coached as much as it should be. Just because maybe your O line's having an off game or something. Maybe just the D line is just really good, where you're gonna be moving around the pocket a lot. You're gonna be scrambling, moving around a lot. Being able to throw maybe to your right or to your left, off balance, or as you said, off platform, it's extremely important. Just being able to throw on the run. And that carries to all levels too. I just think it's extremely important.
And before we take another quick break to learn more about Jackson, just kind of his personal likes and hobbies, I want to ask about some of your Denton Guyer teammates. Who is the guy that if you could, well, maybe we won't do it this way. Who's the guy that isn't being recruited as much as he should be? Who's the guy that's going under recruited right now?
I feel like we have a lot of guys like that. I feel like our whole upcoming receiver core is being under recruited right now. I mean, our ex receiver, our left outside receiver is starting to get looks from Air Force and Navy. I'm super happy for him, but I feel like our slot receivers should be getting a lot more looks. Suddenly, he should be getting a lot more looks. Played a huge role for us last year, and even on the O line too, we have a bunch of dogs in the O line that just aren't getting looks right now. So.
All right, well, that's going to change in 2022 when Denton Guyer has another fantastic season led by Jackson Arnold. But we're going to talk to you a little bit about Built Bar, and then we're going to learn more about what Jackson Arnold likes to do for fun outside of football. But Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They've got a great new option now. It's called Caramel Brownie. I love the brownie flavors. The peanut butter brownie, the mint brownie have always hit home for me. They always taste great and have great texture, great consistency, and great taste as well. And again, it's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. Your candy bars are more than 200 calories per serving. Built Bar, 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 4 grams of sugar. And again, the flavor and the taste is fantastic. You can replace it with a regular brownie. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, get 15% off your next order. over at built.com. All right, Jackson, let's talk through some of your favorite things. All right. First of all, favorite restaurant.
Ooh, that's a good one. Shoot, this isn't my favorite, but from this weekend, I thought the ranch was absolutely incredible.
Okay.
That was my favorite spot this weekend. But I'd say overall, it's got to be Mexican food, and I want to say there's a small Mexican place in Denton called La Fondia, and it's up there for sure. It's a hole in the wall, but it's absolutely amazing.
All right. Next time you're traveling down through I-35 in Denton, hit up La Fondia. Okay. Your favorite MCU film?
Ooh. I'm gonna say Thor Ragnarok.
Okay. That's one of my favorites too.
I love that movie. I love all the Thor movies in general, but that's got to be my favorite.
What about music? Are you much of a music buff? Who are some of your favorite artists? If you could pick one, great. But if you have to name a couple, that's fine too. Who are some of your favorite artists to listen to?
I'd say my top two is Kanye and J. Cole.
All right.
I'm a big rap hip hop guy. I grew up listening to country music, so I got tired of it really early on, and I don't listen to it at all anymore. So,
yeah, I understand this. Growing up in California myself, I wasn't really into country music, but very much into hip hop back in the 90s, early 2000s or so. All right. So, favorite candy. If you guys are wanting to send Jackson Arnold some candy when he gets to campus, you got to figure out what his favorite candy is.
Twix bars, no doubt.
Okay, now we talking caramel Twix or like the original Twix or peanut butter?
Twix.
The original. Okay. All right. Have you had the peanut butter?
I have not. I actually have never heard of that before.
Okay, so you're going to have to go and get you a peanut butter Twix at some point. They also will mess you up with a cookies and cream Twix, which is also pretty good. So I'm a candy connoisseur, so we can talk candy.
Okay.
I don't know how much of a movie historian maybe you are yet, Jackson, but do you have a favorite sports movie? What would that look like for you?
Shoot. I have to say The Blind Side. That's my mom's
choice.
favorite. That's my mom's favorite movie of all time, and we've seen it so many times. I've got to pick it.
Shout out to Mom. That's a great movie, especially for a mom. That's a good one. I like that movie myself. Brings a few tears every single time. So, all right. Now, favorite video game, or do you play video games?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I haven't as much recently, but I'd say probably NBA 2K17, all-time favorite.
2K17. And who's the team you like to play with the most on that one?
I honestly didn't play with I played like my career pretty much. But
what position?
I'd say the Hawks.
All right. What position did you play in your career?
Shooting guard.
All right.
So,
got to go out and get buckets at shooting guard. I can respect it. So if you wanted to be a big, that would be fine too. It's whatever. Point guard's a fun my player career as well. Do you have a favorite Sooner?
Adrian Peterson. Good pick.
Arguably, potentially, maybe the greatest Sooner of all time. I mean, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's up there, at least running back.
Pretty good pick.
So, yeah,
pretty good pick.
It's a good solid one. Maybe favorite current Sooner. Do we want to get into that?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I have no clue.
Favorite coaching staff member for Oklahoma is all of them. Is that correct, Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah, no worries. All right. So, Jackson, man, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show today. Make sure y'all go check out Jackson on Twitter. It's @_Jackson Arnold _. Make sure you follow him. Make sure you get pumped, get excited. This guy is going to be the truth. He's a really, really good player, really good quarterback. He's going to add a lot to the quarterback room when he gets on campus next year. Jackson, thanks so much for joining us on the show, man.
Sir, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of your summer, man. Thanks, buddy.
And that's gonna do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter @LockedOnSooners and on Facebook, Locked On Sooners Podcast. And until tomorrow, when we get to talk with fellow 2023 commit Joshua Bates, Make sure you go follow Jackson. He's Josh. I'm John. Boomer Sooner.